We've had two mass shootings in 2 weeks in this country. The one in Atlanta killed 8 people, 6 of them were Asian women. That ignited an uprising of concern about the way Asians have been treated and are viewed in this country. In the wake of those killings, there have been an outpouring of support for the Asian and Pacific Islander community, including in the Houston area, which has a large Asian community as well. Thu Nguyen is the national director of OCA, a national organization that since 1973 has been focused on the civil rights of Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders. Thank you for joining me. Thu, thank you. First of all, tell me, what is OCA? What's the purpose of OCA?
Yeah, we are a civil rights organization with members across the country, and we do policy and advocacy on issues that impact APIs such as immigration, education access, language access, and then we also do programming to support our community in terms of API identity development and leadership development. So
when the killings happened in Atlanta, the accused killer said it was not racially motivated. It doesn't seem that way to your organization, does it?
That's right. We know for a fact that it was racially motivated, whether or not it was a level of unconscious bias or not.
So now that that has happened, it's shined a light, if you will, on what many in the Asian community have known for quite some time, and that is discrimination. Talk a little bit about what you've been fighting that maybe people have not been paying attention to until this sort of thing happens to rise it to a level of visibility.
Yeah, I mean, discrimination against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders have been there's been a long history of it in our country. And, you know, it kind of starts legislatively with the 1882 Chinese Exclusion Acts, when that was the very first time in our country when a specific ethnic group was banned. And then we see reoccurrences of that later on, right? But specifically within the past 12 months, within the past year, when, you know, the COVID-19 pandemic began and we had stay-at-home orders, that's when you really see kind of an uptick in anti-Asian discrimination, because I mean, Asian Americans are visibly different and it's easy to pick them out. And when you have a pandemic that unfortunately became associated with an ethnic group, a racial group, that's when you really started seeing, you know, just slurs, verbal assaults, bullying in schools. We've had, you know, since March 2020, about 3,800, it's nearing 4,000 reports across the country of anti-Asian hate incidences like this. And it's really unfortunate. You know, we've been talking about, like, please stop the Asian hate, but it's taken this tragedy in Atlanta for the nation to really open their eyes and say, oh, this is a real problem.
You talked about some of the challenges that the incidences that have been happening around the country. What is your organization hoping to do to try to help change some of that, other than you know, having rallies and that sort of thing? What are some of the things that you concrete are trying to do to help change that dynamic?
Yeah, it's happening on different levels of government, right? First of all, we have our OCA chapters and in their different cities and states advocating and working with law enforcement to make sure that they are culturally, they're trained in cultural competency when they respond to hate incidences and calls, because not only do we want to make sure that we are not seeing like over policing and police brutality, but also our community has sort of a distrust in law enforcement because they see that, you know, sometimes when we call to report a hate incident, it's not taken seriously, or it's brushed off like, oh, this is an anti-Asian hate incident. So that's at the local level, along with, you know, creating walking groups and buddy systems. Unfortunately, it's come to that, so that folks can go out together when they do their essential errands and travel. On the federal level, we are pushing for the No Hate Act to be reintroduced and passed in both houses of the Congress, and that that is calling for FBI to improve reporting, because we've seen over the last few years pages and pages of zero hate incidences, anti-Asian hate incidences from FBI reports. And that's wrong. We know there's underreporting. It can't possibly be zero. The second is very new. It's the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act, and that's calling on federal, state, and local level governments for at least 1 year to really double down on taking a look at and investigating thoroughly any anti-Asian hate incident that is being reported to government or law enforcement.
Then you've got a lot going on. How optimistic are you that progress can be made in those areas?
I think I'm semi-optimistic at the federal level. These bills often take a lot of negotiation. But I think at the local level, I'm more optimistic, because these hate incidences are a local issue, and national organizations like us, we're putting the resources and the attention to the grassroots organizing. And so I'm hopeful that things will start changing in the way law enforcement responds, and that locals, our allies, other communities are paying more attention.
Well, we're going to talk more. Thank you for being willing to stick around for Newsmakers Extra. We'll continue this conversation. Thu Nguyen, thank you for what you do. We'll continue that on Newsmakers Extra. We'll look forward to that.